Signing off, and then we'll go right there. And I just ended my stream.
So we should be live on the main feed now. I'm going to cut the old one.
All right, put this volume up.
The debate, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Never fully received an answer there. However, Vice President Harris was clearly well prepared, practiced on the offensive much of the night.
Hey guys.
Former President Trump did take a lot of debate that she threw out in some of those answers, but he pointed time and again, as he did there at the end, about what she has or has not done as Vice President. The question now is, how much does this move the needle?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be said that she was really never held to the fire. She was not pressed by the moderators.
Here we go.
On her past positions.
Now we know
and how she got from a very progressive, most progressive senator to where she is now. And that falls on ABC. And I think there were moments when it felt like they were helping her out and they were not helping him out. There were times when he didn't pivot as well as he should have to move on to some of the points that he no doubt wanted to make. He went down a few cat and dog holes. Rather than rabbit holes tonight, which will be discussed, no doubt. I thought the strongest moments were foreign policy, Iran, when he talked about Ukraine, Afghanistan, and that closed. Why haven't you done it?
Okay, let's go around the horn.
Wow, there you go. I mean,
Well, I thought the
ABC was
single question that needed to be answered tonight was, Madam Vice President, why have you changed your position? Give us your thoughts on why you changed your position, not just on the small handful of issues that were raised by the moderators, but on a range of other issues. There were like two questions on the whole thing all evening. She never had to account for her changes. Never.
Jeez, they can't
she
even
said
mention.
She'd go down the list. She never really.
She never did. Now
you go down the list, buddy.
Make no mistake about it.
Come on,
Trump
David
had a
Bowie.
bad night.
There you go.
He rose to the bait repeatedly when she baited him, something I'm sure his advisors had begged him not to do.
Reportedly.
You know, in the first debate when Biden attacked him, he just kept his cool and kept going.
Well, it's because Biden was like,
in this debate, he rose to the bait, and we heard so many of the old grievances that we'd long thought that Trump had learned were not winners politically.
These are your tears.
And there they all were, talking about how he didn't lose the election and all that. I mean, my sense is that she came out of this in pretty good shape. Now, how long this will last and is anybody's guess. But for tonight, at least, this was pretty much her night.
You're saying she had a good night.
I'm saying she certainly did.
Sean Hannity is in the spin room.
I'll tell you what Sean Hannity say. I didn't disagree with that. I think the president did great.
Disagree on other parts of what he said. I think the biggest loser in the debate, and we talked about this pre-debate, is ABC. The fact that we didn't get to
when they're talking about ABC, folks.
Kamala Harris had taken on very
I can't remember, was it game 3 in the championship, the Celts? The officials really lost. At the end of the day, it was really the officials who lost.
Rehearsal that I saw in her performance, okay, that's fine, that was anticipated. There were a lot of lies that she told about abortion, about Project 2025, about gun confiscation, and that was
Tulsi Gabbard. Good job, incidentally. Thank you.
And Matt Gaetz.
Deep.
Any more policy time?
She played the long game.
She should make a
the whole
career out
arc.
of this.
Tomorrow she comes out in full support of Kamala Harris.
It's time for the yoga surfer to come in from the cold.
In fact, that we don't know if she still supports, free housing, health care, education, and
God, I wish she would. God,
I still don't know if she's for the good things she pretends to like sometimes.
After an hour and a half debate,
that's what's incredible. Is they don't even make her account for the good stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
Turn this down just a little bit. I will say this: like when they went after Reverend Wright with Barack Obama, that is when people like myself were like, "Oh, this guy could be good. This guy could be good." Now, it turned out I actually believe Barack Obama when he said, I actually never sat in any of those pews. I now believe that. But when Reverend Wright stuff came out, the right thought like, oh, this is the thing that's going to kill him. And all I know is for me, it was like, hey, man, this guy could be good.
Right.
But all right, we can.
I think we get a sense that they're not happy with how Trump.
They are definitely. They are freaking out a little bit. There is no doubt about it. Let's see a little bit.
Thank you, Sean. Let's go to Harold Ford Jr. Harold, your takeaway from tonight.
Maybe.
So I agree with Brett. This what has to be thought of by supporters of Donald Trump and people in that campaign as a disappointment. June 27th, we talked about before, was a different kind of collapse for Joe Biden. In some ways, this has to be thought of as a collapse.
Well,
in some
I don't
ways.
think they're going to replace
from
Trump,
Republican
though.
friends. The two common things were train wreck, and he needs this to end. These are people who support him, and I think will continue to support him.
Train wreck, and he needs this to
Joe
end.
Biden that night that he seemed all over the place. He seemed unprepared and unorganized. I get the sense. I think ABC, the moderators, could have done a better job. But it's almost like if you're in a basketball game and you go up against playing a team that's taller than you, you don't complain at the end of the game. They're taller than us. We knew that before. He's used to people piling on him. He just didn't seem like he was ready. If you're a voter watching tonight, I was reminded of the great Dennis Green, the former coach of the Vikings, who said,
apparently, according to Matt Iglesias,
Donald Trump tonight was that guy.
He doesn't think the head of the Taliban's name is Abdul. It's just like, it's like almost like.
Close enough, whatever it is.
Okay, look, we know what I meant. It was Abdul.
The guy who had the Quickie Mart's name is Apu.
It was Apu. It was.
In the soul of the country, then you have to be willing
Right.
to do those things.
Rahman.
Finally, she was tenacious.
Okay, so should we give our long analysis of this, or do you want to hear more of this?
I think we should hear more of Harold Fortune.
Well, I'm curious what happens when we get to the other, like the right winger.
Well, if we get to 11 p.m.
You've been president before.
When we get to 11 p.m., we'll definitely turn it off.
No, I know. Well, I'm just curious if they're going to go to, they're not going to go to a different show, right? Or are they just doing the spin room stuff until?
But they have other people.
Harris campaign, Brian Fallon just sending out, that was fun, let's do it again in October. To that point, Fox has officially invited both campaigns to a debate in October. We have sent a formal invitation, as we had before.
Oh, somebody said, give us Jimmy Dore, please. I wonder what Jimmy Dore is saying about this.
Fox News.
This is bad for Trump because now they can't accuse her of hiding.
Seems like the
because she
American
just
people would love another
publicly waxed
opportunity
her.
to see these candidates. It's been such a short window, and they deserve
That's
as many
awesome
opportunities
that they
as
come
possible. We
out
certainly hope
in the
that
next
they will take us
second.
up on that.
Jesse, your thoughts?
Oh, here we go.
I don't think the American people are watching and thinking any of these people won. This was rough. This was pretty intense at times. She started off shaky.
He's drunk.
She regained her footing.
Drunk.
But
Definitely
I thought
drunk.
she was going to come out with some of these memorable
We've been
lines.
drinking, but we're not.
All the memorable
Jesse Waters,
lines
so.
were from Donald Trump. Run, spot, run. I'm speaking. Does that sound familiar? Wake Joe Biden
Jesse, we
up
caught
at 4
that.
o'clock in the afternoon and go get him to sign this thing to close the border.
He
I
looks
took a
absolutely
bullet because you
crazy.
said I was a threat to democracy. And they're eating the pets. You know, you watch this thing, if you're a Democrat, you're like, oh, she did a great job. She was much more forceful than Joe Biden. If you're a Republican, you look at this and you're like, that's Donald Trump. He had some moments where you were like, oh my God, where are we going with this?
But with the
And
real
then he just
issue
had
is,
some
what
great
if you
knockouts.
are in the middle?
And so this race just got tighter.
That's
Meaning,
probably true. We're
no,
gonna see what exactly
it was
that
tight
looks like.
before.
We are just
He
getting
is
started on our
messed up.
analysis. A pivotal
That dude is
night in the
drunk or
2024
he is
campaign.
wasted.
Our coverage continues right after this very short.
Look, I've gotten wasted on too many of these broadcasts not to be able to see it.
Wet as waters.
Exactly. There's a reason why we call them waters. Who should we check out?
I mean, MSNBC is going to be glazing, but
it's
I guess
gonna be tough to watch,
CNN,
actually.
right?
We could look at CNN. Well, honestly, I'm curious what Jimmy Dore is saying right now a little bit. What's that?
They're reading IMs.
Steph,
yeah, honestly.
Steph is reading IMs.
Oh, is that what's going on?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, there we go. We could read some IMs. Majority Report just made her point with that closing argument. Thank you guys for making listening to that orange clown not make me stab my eyes. Got my tickets for the MR November election day.
Woo!
Go to a main network. I never watch cable news.
And certainly anything he faced in 2020 has figured out what no one else figured out how to do. Certainly Marco Rubio didn't figure it out by going after little hands. He debased himself, as many have. I want to show just some key moments.
Oh, they're saying
where
that she triggered
needled
him.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
This is true.
On the most sort of obvious, basic things that we all know he has said, we all know are weak points, to devastating effect. Let's just.
Oh my, devastating effect.
Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. If you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him.
John King, it was the moment she talked about his crowd size of all things, and people, not even was her crowd
She
size,
was
it
steady
was
the
people
whole
being
time.
bored and leaving his rallies early.
I mean, the only problem could be that, like, you know, the media is all going to gang up on Trump in such a way that it's going to trigger some of his followers. But I mean, I think, like, I mean, this
She got
is
her footing during the abortion conversation, where she felt more comfortable, and then she triggered him with the people leave your rallies. And he lost it. And he was angry. From that moment on, his voice went up. He started angering. He told a lot of lies.
His
Daniel
voice
Dale's going to be up
changed.
all night. We should start a GoFundMe for his
After, like, the
espresso
first
machine.
10 minutes, he was doing presidential
And so what
voice.
did she do? She triggered him on COVID, January 6th and democracy, abortion, chaos, lies, and his anger. What are those? Those are the issues that turned the American suburbs away from Donald Trump and why he lost the 2020 election. Those are the voters who were waiting to see if she could stand there and be a plausible president next to him.
Yeah.
She cleared that bar. That doesn't mean she won their votes, but she cleared that bar with 8 weeks left in the election. She stood next to a former president, and she more than held her own. And on many of the issues, she schooled him. She simply schooled him because she triggered him into his lies and into his anger, which does not sell well with the middle of the election.
I'll tell you what this does more than anything else.
Tonight.
You know, I've been involved in a lot of these. I help
It buys
prepare
Harris 2 weeks of, like, the cycle was turning against her, and now it's back.
Oh, yeah.
And she is now basically taken the campaign to October, because by the time you get to the end of September, you're going to be already talking about the vice presidential debate.
Exactly. Exactly. Wait, I want to hear this part.
Muhammad Ali in the debates.
Muhammad Ali.
You know, their fear has to be that he knocks himself out. He kind of helped, but she set him up, as John said. But these things are more than about issues. These things are tests. These campaigns, these debates, they're oral exams for the hardest job on the planet. And people judge you in these moments, and they judge whether you have the mettle to stand up to that pressure, to be coherent, to deliver a case. And she certainly did that tonight.
Van, she whooped him. She just whooped him.
Oh God, I was going to say it in the most insufferable way, though.
But this was the night that she became president.
Like wish fulfillment. Like, you know, you watch a movie because you want something
Oh, it's a
to
movie.
happen, like some great romance. People have wanted to see somebody put this
Van
bully in his
Jones
place.
is Tim Pool brain.
And people
He
have watched
is. He's liberal Tim Pool.
contender after
Everything is
contender
archetypal.
failed to put him in his place. She got up
That's
there
actually
and she
very
put
well
him in his
said.
place. She baited him, and then she
That
spanked him.
fucking pin
She
is
baited
so.
him, and then she spanked him. And not only did she pass the commander-in-chief test, he failed it. He failed it. Do you want this guy dealing with a dictator?
It says everything
When he
you
can
know about
literally just
CNN
be-
that they
I mean,
devote
you could
significant time to
see
this guy.
the
Oh, my
punches
God.
coming. He couldn't get out of the
He
way.
probably makes.
I mean, if you can so unhinge somebody by saying people leave your rally,
Smells like
any
my
world
hair.
leader can
Van, was he
manipulate you into
crazier when
anything.
you
So I think
drafted the
that
First
she
Step Act
passed
with him?
the test.
Now
He
or then?
failed it. But I think also she was speaking for the people. She really was speaking for the people. I think the
Oh
right
God,
wing
I
may not
really,
see it, but she kept coming back to middle class
I
background.
cannot handle this guy.
I know.
I like this guy.
Try to encourage people with posts and try to,
Help them.
help them if I can.
I mean, this is what's.
This woman's kind of smart.
Yeah,
Can we
let's
put
listen.
her on?
Unpredictable.
I've been
And it
watching
turned
cable
out she
news
could use the
recently.
Mad Libs of triggers of everything he's ever talked about or been bothered by and use them in a formula that was to first talk about an attack line he might have said to her, take a topic she was weak on, and follow it up with a trigger for him, and then watch him spin himself in circles trying to defend it. And at the start of this conversation, at the start of the night, we talked about who's going to look like an incumbent versus who's going to look like a challenger. And I think she made herself look like the challenger to a person.
She's
and
making your
really
point,
kind
Sam.
of ran through his
She looked like the challenger.
I mean, you know him well. I mean, even on the immigration question, she quickly turned it and
I know she
totally
just looks like her.
Alyssa Farragut.
emasculated him and got him discombobulated.
She dismantled him and made it that on the issues he should be the strongest on.
Incidentally,
border
this is
security,
CNN. On
the economy. He
MSNBC,
ended
they
up
are
relitigating
probably
his
like
rallies and talking
crying
about
tears
his
of joy.
Yeah,
consequences. I think she put the bait out there and he took it.
doing a telethon
And I'm hearing
to
from
raise
other
money.
Republicans, I'm thinking from the perspective of, okay, if you're a Trump viewer at home, what are you thinking? Sitting
I'm so
Republican
glad she
lawmakers
didn't do
who
Mr. President,
objectively
I'm
think
speaking.
She won the debate,
Honestly.
but also that the mask is starting
I
to
think
slip
they
with
were
Donald Trump.
I think
That
she
this
knew
is
that
the
she
man who
didn't want
projects
to do
himself
that
as
in this
strong,
instance.
as in
Like,
command. And in fact, he
she needed to
simply
go
is
sort of
not,
even
with just
bigger
a
than that.
minor
Well, remember when
challenge
she did that to
asking for more
Mr.
substantive
whatever,
questions,
she
asking him
did
to
that
plan
to
basic
Pence,
things.
like they had
He just
T-shirts
can't
ready and
do
things
it.
like that.
Certainly
That
not the way he
artifice,
could have in
it just
previous
feels
years.
like almost like
well, but that's VP almost on some level, right? It's like it's
More ceremonial.
JV, but it's also sort of like I'm the attack dog. This she had to, sort of like come off as presidential, which is the big question. I mean, the guy put this down just a little bit. King's said it. I mean, this is sort of like, this is just sort of like classic sort of wonk pablum. But we're at that stage of the campaign now where the people who are making their assessment of these candidates are doing it on the most ridiculous of metrics. And the metric for some of these people is, does she seem presidential? And that, that's what, and that's what she was attempting to achieve. She managed to sort of like toe that line between coming off as a presidential and being a little bit above it, but also getting, digging at him enough.
But digging at him in a way that only you and I, or like people that pay attention to politics more regularly, are going to pick up on, in the sense of like the Wharton Business School giving an analysis about the economy.
100%.
Like
total dog whistle type of situation.
We know what that means, right? For Trump, as like he's so insecure about having what he transferred into Penn. That's his history, right? So
one of the best students.
That's he's insecure about that. I have other notes here, but like my basic takeaway here is like the debate with Biden, this exacerbated all of the existing weaknesses for Trump.
Yep.
Which, like, for Biden, it was he's old, he doesn't have it anymore, he's not with it. I mean, that was a disaster for that narrative. For Trump, this is a very similar situation.
Yep.
Where he's out of control, he's extreme, he's a chaos agent. She displayed that very well, or like forced him into that, and it wasn't hard.
You remember Trump's a perfect foil. Like it's not hard to look presidential next to that guy.
100%.
And she's a perfect person to trigger that in him, because she just has to be a steady, like, frankly, she's like
black woman.
She's a black woman. She's also an attractive woman. I mean, I'm not trying to. I can
She
say
would
it.
not be the chosen one.
Yeah, not who I'd pick.
Like,
oh wait, let's listen to this dude.
Okay,
this is the right-winging guy.
This guy's a right-winger.
You're complaining about Trump saying you don't have details on your plan. No details provided on anything here, but for her, she was very good at kind of
That's not
rattling off
true
her
at all.
answers, but then never really
She
answered
went
the question.
pretty deep on her.
50,000 for small businesses.
I see it in the
That was the boring part.
I never thought I'd say this, but CNN did such a great job on the debate and being fair.
Oh.
Where ABC was not fair. This was a 3-on-1 at times versus Trump.
CNN wasn't
They were
obsequious
demanding
enough.
Trump be
ABC
very
wasn't
specific on the
obsequious
answers.
enough, I mean.
The Kamala Harris, when asked about her values changing and having to articulate the differences of why she was for reparations, not
This
for
is
reparations.
Reparations.
I get incidentally.
I'll get to each of those. And then she didn't get to any of them.
This is the talking points they're sending out. There's a reason why what's his face had it on Fox and this guy.
Anderson, but my
Straight
point
from
is
Stephen
not
Miller's.
time. My point is
They're getting-
there was not a
they're getting
demand.
exactly.
David Muir didn't say, well, Madam Vice President,
White
are you
Bear.
going to answer that question? Where he did do that with Trump. There was more aggressive follow-up on the Trump questioning than there was on.
This guy's gonna cry. I would ask him, "Are you gonna cry?" If I was on set.
This is supposedly a neutral territory, right? And
You're gonna cry?
Yeah, this is the amazing thing.
On the scale, Republican voters.
Nobody's even talking about how Trump repeated the whole eating the cats and dogs thing.
Like
Yes.
yes or no. Is there anything you regret about
But I will say,
January 6th? No,
you know,
it's
there are
all about
memes
this.
now
Well,
of
that's
people
when
pretending
she
to
was
eat their
pressed-
dogs
yeah,
on the
I know
internet,
that's
making
really
fun of this kind of
disgusting for me.
situation.
When
So
she was pressed on Afghanistan,
that's cheap
she
media
didn't
for
say,
her.
"Yeah, I regret that 13 young men and women
Someone
died
get
there.
this guy a
And I
tissue.
regret that I did not, in the 3.5 years as vice president, meet with their families."
She didn't.
I mean, that
Yes.
she didn't say that.
Give him a
And nobody
pacifier.
followed up on that, and that is disgusting to me.
Look, I agree with David that
Adam
you're gonna hear some
Friedland
carping
tweeted,
from
"She's
Republicans
gorgeous."
About, this wasn't a debate. It was
This
a
is the
trial,
former
and there were
McConnell
three
advisor here,
prosecutors.
Scott
You're
Jennings.
definitely going to hear that.
I know he's.
But it is
he's
a
the
little
Trump guy.
hard to complain about the refs when you're not making your own jump shots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the first 15 minutes of this
hostage
debate,
pins.
he won. The questions were on the economy.
He'd
He
used
had
the
it
same
right.
basketball
He had it
metaphor
right
that
on
I did.
inflation. Even on the
A little hard to
tariff
complain
question,
about the
I think
refs.
he had
There
it
you go.
And
Right.
then,
He's watching.
inexplicably,
Thanks,
on
Scott.
immigration, that's where she derailed him. And from that point forward, she basically dictated the flow. Now, in the closing statements, when he said, "You've been there for 3.5 years, why haven't you done it?" That really should have permeated. That's his best argument. It really should have permeated everything. She peppered all of her answers with, "I have a plan, I have a plan." He should have retorted every time, "You've been there 3.5 years."
That seems like the only thing they worked out in advance, like
Yeah.
that he had sort of in his mind, okay, this is something we're going to say.
But look, she
Oh,
did not
Taylor
put a lot of
Swift
meat on the
endorsement
bones. I
just
agree
dropped.
She passed the competency
Is that
test.
real?
She did tell some of her
seems
own
like it.
lies.
She
And
posted-
she,
she
and she
posted on
left
Instagram.
some things out there, but overall,
Sure,
she dictated
yeah.
the flow.
I want to go to Caitlin Collins in the debate spin room. With
Oh,
take it.
God. These Republicans
I'm
are
in the
so
spin
depressed.
room.
I'll take it.
Yeah, thanks, Anderson. I'm here, and it is timely given we are
Speak out, like,
talking with the
about
Pennsylvania
Palestine
governor,
like
Josh
Chapel
Fair, about how
Roan,
Taylor
but-
Swift just came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. I know that you were claiming Taylor Swift is one of
We claim
Pennsylvania's
Taylor
own.
Swift.
Oh, I'm sure you love
But
her,
when
you
were watching
insufferable
this debate,
twins.
You were just watching it. What were your main takeaways of how Vice President Harris did coming into this? Because there were big questions about how she would fare on that debate stage.
You know, Caitlin, I think we spoke a few weeks ago, and I expressed to you that I was a little bit worried the American people had a little bit of brain fog about Donald Trump. They didn't remember the chaos when he was in office.
Yeah, this is
I
what they
think
were
Kamala
doing.
Harris wiped out that brain fog and reminded people of the chaos of Donald Trump, reminded them that he ripped away people's fundamental freedoms, particularly the freedom for millions of women across this country to just make decisions.
Walls is on
over their own bodies.
MSNBC
She
right now.
reminded them that here in Pennsylvania, he wants
Yeah,
to
let's-
take away
let's
health
check it
care
out.
from 1.2.
Part Twain, left has Taylor, but we still have Voight and Kid Rock, baby.
And Ted Nugent.
You know, we're going to see if this has an impact, but what it's really going to do.
Anything other than a pillow guy support his insane rhetoric around this. But look, this
I'm
is
interested in
dangerous.
this.
140 police officers were hurt
No.
and some were killed. This has caused issues across this country. With the campaign, we're ready for this. We know it's going to be a tough race. We know that he's not going to probably concede. That's why I say once again to Americans, get out there, get engaged, make sure that we're doing everything necessary. And I'm going to give a huge thank you to those election workers, folks like my mom, who's been a poll watcher for years, folks that are on the Republican, Democrats, independents, who do the hard work of democracy for no money. They're being put at risk by the recklessness of Donald Trump because he can't, at nearly 80 years old, do something that my fourth graders, when I taught them, did. When you lose a game, you go shake hands and you congratulate the other person. and you
God.
move
Is
on.
Maddow
We're in
crying?
this together.
The
This guy
folksiness
cares
is
nothing
just
about
like-
the democracy.
it's
He cares nothing
unbelievable.
about the American people.
Only
He
Matt
cares
knows how to
about
how to like
himself and
just
himself
like
only.
absorb
So,
this without.
again,
we're used to
appreciate
Sacker and
the
stuff.
moderators
Coastal elite.
calling him out on this, re-questioning him on it, making it clear that he's not.
I mean, I
wrong.
have to
But
admit,
look,
like, if I was
this
like
guy
in
is
a
threat.
room with
This
Tim
is gonna
Walz
be
and he
a
wasn't
close
Tim Walz,
election.
I'd
We
just be
know
like,
it
oh,
comes down to
jeez,
the
dude,
battleground states.
please.
So for all the listeners out there, we need you. We need you to get engaged. We need you to send.
How do you- how are you this
a message
earnest?
to this? And I just
I
came
know.
a few minutes ago from talking with Mesa Mayor Giles, a Republican, who says I'm a strong Republican. I don't agree with all of your positions, but you are standing in the breach of democracy. Donald Trump is a threat to that, and he proudly stood there with he and his family. That's the type of things we need Americans to do across this country. Kamala Harris is going to be
So
that
he
president
occasionally
for
miss-
all
Did you
of us.
send
We
out a
don't have
notice
agree
to
with
people
every
that were on
policy,
this? Okay.
But it's very clear.
He occasionally
She trusts this
misspeaks, but I'm gonna
democracy.
like
She
take
puts
his
the
gaffes
Constitution
of
above
like
everything
earnestness
else.
over
He doesn't.
Biden's, which
I'm gonna
Walls?
get the opportunity
Yeah.
to have
Oh,
a
without
debate
a
with
doubt.
someone
like
who's
as
on
a
the stage
conduit
because
to
Mike Pence sure
Congress,
isn't,
like if
because
you
he
want
was
to
willing to put
make
the
Harris
Constitution
Obama in
above
this instance,
Donald Trump. So
Walls
we get
with
to
his
continue this
politics versus
conversation over the next
Biden,
56
who was
days,
like with
but it's
his
absolutely
his
critical
deep connections
people
to
know
the
what the threat is.
NatSec
Governor Walz,
like
I want to ask you
side
about,
of the
your prep
Senate.
for that debate
That
with
I'm
JD
I
Vance,
prefer
coming
Walls
up.
any day of the
While
week.
we have been talking,
Turn this
somebody's
down
just
just a
handed
little
me
bit.
something.
Taylor
and I'm going
Swift.
to do sort of a not very TV thing, and I'm going to read it to
She
you.
gets credit for doing the bare minimum.
In totality. I'm going to read you the whole thing because
It's Taylor
I
Swift.
don't think you know about this,
Yeah.
but this was just posted online by a woman you might have heard of whose name is Taylor Swift.
Oh my God.
I'm truly
Are they really
going
talking
to
about?
kill myself.
I understand it's annoying, but people.
We knew this was going on during the Super Bowl. It was so obvious. The fix is in.
Telegraphed. The Pentagon's plan.
She is going to.
And the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you the most. As a voter, I make sure to watch
They're
and
really
read everything
putting
I can
walls
about
to
their
the
proposed
fire.
policies and plans for this country.
How are you going to react to
Recently, I was
Taylor
aware
Swift?
that
Putting the
AI
screws
of
on him.
Me, quote me, falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to his site. It really conjured up my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. It brought me to the conclusion.
Well, we want to be
that
a
I need
leader
to
in
be very
AI.
Well, Kamala's the wrong
transparent
candidate,
about my actual
actually.
plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. Then she says, quote, I will
I'm
be
looking
casting
forward
my
to
vote for Kamala Harris
MSNBC
and
coverage
Tim
of like
Walz in the 2024
a
presidential
non-white
election.
female artist
I'm voting
endorsing
for Kamala Harris
Kamala
because she
Harris. We'll see
fights
how
for
that
the
goes.
rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them.
I
think she
wish
is a steady-handed,
I
gifted
knew
leader, and I
anything
believe
about
we can
Taylor
accomplish
Swift
so
to
much
be
more
able
in
to
this country if we're
contextualize
led
this.
by
But honestly,
She's like the
not
Jeff
chaos.
Bezos of music, so she has.
I know you don't like her.
No, I don't like white
turn down the volume.
feminism, and I don't like this like.
Bradley, we turn this down just a little bit. Bradley's sitting there with a key. What did you do? Break the bourbon bottle?
I tried to take it off, and then the cap came off, but not the cork.
I think we got a wrench around here for that, or pliers.
I was doing a
Bring
little.
that over here. I'm just like watching you push it in with the key. You don't want to do it that way. You want to pull it out.
I want to
We
be
got
clear
pliers
that
around here.
I'm happy Taylor Swift is endorsing Kamala Harris, but I just feel like the outsized media attention that her endorsement gets is like extremely racialized and bizarre, and I don't understand why MSNBC gives a shit.
We know that it's there. That was eloquent. And it was
I've been. This is not my first
Oh.
rodeo.
America to stand up. We've seen it out of those
Like, why are we? This is getting primetime coverage right now. She's a pop singer.
Well,
that
to
like
be
a
fair,
bunch
it's
of white girls care
11:15
about.
at night.
And because she probably has the most followers on Instagram or something.
Great.
I mean, the sad thing is, it could actually.
I mean, some people probably would vote just because Taylor Swift told them.
She's a climate criminal.
Suburban
but
women.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, right. Okay, sure.
Well, Emma, really, you don't like Taylor Swift?
I really don't.
I mean, the primary purpose is if literally someone wouldn't vote and they would vote just because. I mean, do I think not one American would just vote because Taylor Swift told them to? I don't think so. I think multiple Americans would vote just because Taylor Swift told them to.
Well, she decided to become a Democrat like what in 2018 or 2016, but after she rode like I don't know 10 to 15 years of white supremacists talking about her as like the ideal for a public woman, as
Which she didn't invite.
Turn this down a little bit. I mean, this is.
she didn't dispel it.
See, this is I can't even engage in this argument because honestly, I had no idea who she was until the whole like.
I shouldn't engage in it at all because
I'm not
going
gonna
to
blame her
trouble regardless.
I'm not going to blame her
Yeah.
for white supremacists talking about her.
Yeah.
I will say I raised my eyebrow at her first signal after Trump winning was look what you made me do, but that's just me being conspiratorial.
Well, yeah. I mean,
What do you mean? She.
I think it was like look what you made us do by
Electing Trump?
Electing Trump, yeah. But I mean that's tangential and if it was intentional, I would say the label. But
yeah. I mean, she can cut if she shows a real demonstration of humanity. She can cut down her like private plane usage from taking 10-minute trips across.
A lot of people in
Ohio
our
or something
audience
like
have already
that.
said that they are willing now to vote because Taylor Swift is voting.
In our audience?
Endorsed it. Yeah, maybe a lot of Swifties. I got to talk to Saul about this. I've told you the story about what Saul, like Saul, who not a huge football fan, had a problem with Taylor Swift.
Well, there's a lot of misogyny about it, but
oh
it's
my God.
But
Yeah,
it's
it was all
also
over.
I stand by this. She's the Jeff Bezos of music. Everyone seems to listen to her, and we're supposed to care about like what she says. But it doesn't mean that anything she says is meaningful. It doesn't mean that it's making a change in the world. It doesn't mean that she's a good person. And it doesn't mean that her past lack of activism, when there were other pop stars who were way more vocal about gay rights in that time period or racism, like she never engaged in that until it was profitable for her. So I don't really care.
I am just
and there's
fascinated by
there's a whole
depth.
I agree with most of what
anger
Emma's
towards
saying, but
Taylor Swift.
Emma's Taylor hating is actually it's one of the most legendary things about Emma's hating capabilities.
I have a deep.
It's honestly remarkable.
I feel like there might be a story off air that you're going to tell us about Taylor Swift, because this seems personal.
Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Taylor Swift, probably top 3.
That's up
not
there.
In that order. I wouldn't even say.
Yeah, I just want to get off this now. I don't like white feminism.
I'm just giving you shit.
I don't like white feminism, and I think she's like the exact personification of it. But yeah, go on.
Let's not watch Walls anymore.
Okay.
I'm less interested in this. I'm more interested in. I mean, look. Here is there are two sort of elements about a debate, broadly speaking, just generally. One is, does it move any voters, the debate itself? And I think rarely does that happen. The debate itself, does someone watch the debate and go like, I'm now voting for Harris? I mean, yes, or Trump for that matter. You'll see people in focus groups, and it might in the margins. But what it also does is it creates a narrative. And there is sort of like right now, the weird thing about this election is because Harris, there's no backlog, there's no pre-existing narrative with Harris. It's tough to create events that feed into it. So we're going to see the right keep doing. Haitians are eating cats and dogs in this town. They're going to go through this. This is going to backfire over the next couple of days. I mean, if the Harris campaign is smart, and it's sort of like the Democratic apparatus is smart, they're going to hammer them over this cats and dogs thing with the Haitians, because what they want to do is basically take the oxygen out of the next thing that they're going to do, which is some Chinese immigrant, or we found an ISIS flag on the Rio Grande, or whatever it is. This is going to cement Harris in the press. Like the press, they function like a pack of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And Caesar, what's that guy's name? Caesar Alam, the dog whisperer, has basically said to the dogs, like, we're going this way, and that's going to last for like a couple of weeks. And that's going to influence all of the press coverage. And there's it's hard to imagine what events between now and the election are going to change things. Like, you don't have this simmering investigation of Kamala Harris like you had Clinton. What's the October surprise going to be?
Yeah.
It's conceivable that the Gaza protests will increase because of Joe Biden was disgusting in responding to the killing of an American citizen by pretending it's an accident. Everybody knows it wasn't an accident. We have eyewitnesses who say it wasn't an accident. But you could see from this debate, the mainstream of this country thinks it's one of 15 issues.
I mean, you can also say that's in part because of what the media decides to cover, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
They followed up 3 or 4 times on Ukraine. They barely followed up at all. She gave the exact same answer word for word, almost like memorized, that she's given about Gaza. And I would love if we had a press that could ask her a few follow-ups, like, does your policy differentiate from Biden in any real way as it relates to Israel and arms? But that's not how things shook out. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's just not the issue that's moving people, even though I wish it was more salient. In part because we don't have U.S. troops on the ground as it relates to
even more, like I can tell you, like even in terms of when we did in Iraq, it was sort of shocking how little the American public seemed to be sort of like engaged in that question.
And do you see how they're trying to do the Swift boat thing? Not to bring up Taylor Swift again, but the Swift boat thing for Tim Walz, and it's not working. And then also they're trying to Benghazi Harris with the Afghanistan withdrawal, and no one gives a shit.
No, but it's very hard to make this stuff stick. And Kyle Kalinske, this is a Flumdinger. Kyle Kalinske suggests the October surprise is Netanyahu launching an attack on Iran to drag Biden into war. I mean,
that's why she's saying that stuff about Iran.
I think that is definitely possible, but I think that's more like, I think that's going to be more important to Netanyahu than it is in the context of this election. I think one of the things that Harris projected tonight, or Trump failed to, make the case that she is not capable of dealing with our enemies, which is a big, getting into a war. I'm not suggesting that Iran is, that we should, be viewing things in that way. But I'm just saying that this is the American politics that we have. And one of the things that Trump should have done if he was like an actual candidate was to try and make it seem like she's not capable of being commander-in-chief. I mean, the words commander-in-chief, I don't even think they came up.
No.
Like how bizarre this is, because I don't think I've ever seen a presidential debate where with two candidates where the words commander-in-chief, where the president, you substitute the position of president and you use commander-in-chief as the title. And that didn't come up. I mean, it's sort of fascinating. It's such a weird
He couldn't do
election.
it. He could have done,
No.
I mean, he could have hit her on in subtle sexist ways about her ability to be Kamala in chief, commander in chief, right? But he wasn't even able to get there
We
because
need you to be Kamala
of the country. He wasn't even able to really pivot to any attacks towards her because he moved to immigration after every question, which I think dilutes his strength in polling.
Yeah, it makes him just seem like he can't get off that
He
subject.
spent the first third of every one of his answers responding to a bait that Kamala set in the immediate answer before.
And the storyline about immigration isn't going to be anything he said, except for the one thing that's going to come out of this is the conspiracy about cats and dogs being eaten by Haitian migrants. I will say I've now gotten 3 texts from family members about this. It's apparently all over the internet. People are making memes about it. This is going to be the storyline because that's his biggest strength in terms of just raw polling. It's the immigration and the economy in that order on who's better. And he just didn't capitalize on that at all.
I also suspect, though, from that immigration thing, that one of the things that we're going to see, in the focus groups, right? These things where they have 10, 12 independents sitting in a room and they talk about this. We're going to see, and can you just put CNN on there, even if we don't bring it up, just so that we can see what's going on with the run on a problem instead of fixing the problem. Again, this is not my, they're fact checking Donald Trump. That's going to go on for a long time. But coming up is the focus group. I want to see that. When she said he's running on a problem instead of fixing a problem, that's the stuff that resonates with I want to say those 50-year-old guys. I mean, and I realize oh shit.
No, but I think
That's
of
me now, but,
my stepdad's going to hear that and be like, hell yeah.
That's I sort of feel like that's
Moderate Republican.
yes, yep. I can get over the fact. I mean, at least she's only doing 26% on the capital gains, and
but he's crazy. But he's chaotic.
But her point is right. She wants to get things done, not whatever. I mean, that's all pablum in my estimation. But a lot of people are going to respond to that, and because that's it. That's literally what they tune into here. That's literally that. Like, can we get along? Like, they want the West Wing. And she delivered like that sort of like West Wingy thing. And I have to say, though, delivered in a way that wasn't, quite as offensive as like I find the West Wing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we're past that because in the West Wing, it would have been, this is what maybe I said this to you off air. She didn't do any of the bipartisan stuff. That's something that's interesting. Like, I think the Democrats are past that because they don't necessarily feel like they need to capitulate to the Republicans on this front. They can basically just be partisan and not say, I'm bringing the country together, Republicans and Democrats. She didn't seem to go down that road, which was the Biden kind of, I don't know, default.
Eric Erickson tweeted, "You stupid MFers just got Trump to repeat your lie about the pets. Congrats on setting the news stories tomorrow by lying so Trump picks it up and says stupid shit."
When he says stupid MFers, it means neo-Nazis who originated the claim.
Yes, I pulled that clip for tomorrow. We can watch that. Here is the Federalist that's citing a police report about Haitians killing geese. They have exclusive audio and police reports of Haitian goose hunting in Ohio.
Chris Rufo, thanks, bro.
No, we'll see.
Goose hunting. I mean, assimilating to America.
Like literally every presidential candidate. Like, I just have visions of John Kerry going out there with his stupid ass shotgun and his LL Bean jacket to prove that he's a real man because he's bird hunting. I mean,
it's like the elite version. You've been hunting on the king's land, sir. The king owns that goose, I swear.
Dick Cheney, during his re-election, literally shot a guy in the face when they were bird hunting.
Wait, so can we get back to the original tweet about what he was talking about there?
He says that there is
Oh my God. So someone on Twitter alerted me to this. There's apparently a UK right-wing conspiracy theory that Polish migrants were killing the king or the queen's swans. Have you? This is like a version of what they were getting, essentially, like here in
back to CNN.
Maybe, or we can go back to CNN. But this is like they've been copying the right in this country what the UK has been doing as it relates to trans people. I wouldn't be shocked if they're picking up on like their migrant insanity as well.
Hunting is for elites in the UK, so that would make sense.
But I do like how in the UK version, like there's that weird royal worship that's embedded in
how
that.
How dare
as well.
you harvest an animal without the king's permission?
Speaking of Polish, that reminded me of her citing the 800,000 Polish voters in Pennsylvania, which I thought was sort of fascinating because I wonder, I'm really curious about that. Because
she mentioned Trump using undocumented Polish labor to build Trump Tower next
time. But this is like she did that in the context of Russia and implying there is Russian expansionist tendencies, which I think is certainly arguable since they just invaded Ukraine. But I would imagine if I'm in Poland too, I'm very sensitive to that. And I wonder if so self-consciously saying that, right? Like you would think if I'm Polish and I have sensitivities to that, I pick up on this in the conversation. But I wonder if it doesn't sort of like enhance that intensity of like someone who is Polish who thinks like, oh, wait, yeah, maybe I should be paying attention to that.
In other states, you mean? Maybe.
No, in Pennsylvania.
In that too. Well, I mean.
Pennsylvania is... This is the bottom line.
I agree.
Pennsylvania is the entire election now because you see the numbers coming out of places like North Carolina and Nevada and Georgia. If she gets Pennsylvania, there becomes like literally 4 other scenarios in which you can win. Pennsylvania plus, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Nevada, North Carolina and Arizona. I mean, Pennsylvania. There ends up being like a multiple of things if she gets Pennsylvania. So like so much of what her campaign is, the fracking thing. Like she only addressed fracking, right? Like
in terms
that
of the
list of the
flip-flops.
thing, the flip flops.
That's all she said. I'm gonna address everything that you have to say, and then she just addressed fracking, and then pivoted to Donald Trump. Yeah.
Yep.
So that seemed very mercenary for Pennsylvania in particular, in the sense of like she's targeting that. Like they feel good about Michigan, seemingly they feel good about Wisconsin. Wisconsin's done. They're worried about Pennsylvania probably, and they might feel better about North Carolina given the numbers that we're seeing come out of there, with Mark Robinson consistently down by double digits to Stein because he's so extreme. So if she were to get Pennsylvania plus those states in in Michigan and Wisconsin, which seem more likely, then it's over. The race is over at that point. So that's what they're banking on. And so she's gonna say that stuff about fracking, and then call out specifically Polish people in Pennsylvania. When's the last time Polish people in Pennsylvania had a shout out in a presidential debate?
Right.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that might circle around in families and Facebook groups that you wouldn't necessarily have happen in other situations. So she knew that the Trump campaign didn't have the discipline to make that remark, and she went for it regardless, even if it just applies to like 800,000 people.
Well, that's a big, when you're in Pennsylvania, you're talking a couple of
Totally.
votes. I mean, Majority Report wardrobe coordinator, I saw this online, but someone posted that Harris was aborting a baby in its 78th year right now.
Oh. Focus group?
Isn't that
Trump's
focus,
on ABC.
Trump is on ABC?
That's what people are saying.
I mean, we can check that out. You know what we should do? I mean, I think
Play
we're
that
going to have to
tomorrow,
wrap
too.
this up because we're going to, let's record this focus group on our YouTube TV right there. You know how to do that, right? We should really wrap it up because we're going to be doing a show in 12 and a half hours tomorrow. We're going to be talking about this. Everybody just started crying in the office. We're going to be talking about this debate tomorrow. We'll go through all the stuff. Folks, appreciate you tuning in. We are live every day at noon and videos throughout the day. Oh, there's JD Vance. I can't.
Oh.
Let's just hear a little bit of what he said.
Okay.
Let's just 1 second.
Look, I think with President Trump, it's not a sign of either, frankly. I do think that he had a great debate. We can sort of hear the background noise here. But look, I think with President
You can hear
Trump,
the background noise.
he had to be sort of talked out of coming to the spin room after the first debate because he really wanted to. And my guess is that he really wanted to come then. He really wanted to come now. This time it worked out. And look, he loves to talk to reporters because he loves to talk to the American people. And I think it's been a consistent theme of his campaign is going anywhere, going into hostile or friendly media.
He feels
talking to
like he has to
people,
come in
answering
there because he
questions,
lost
trying
the
to make his
debate.
case.
He knows
He's gonna keep on doing
it.
that, whatever the format.
And now he's going to, and he knows.
How you wanted it to go in terms of Harris clearly trying to get under his skin, talking about crowd sizes, talking about former officials like John Kelly and Mark Esper and others. I mean, I heard from some Trump advisors who said he took the debate too much. Do you believe that?
No, look, I think that what we saw from Kamala Harris was a lot of platitudes. It was a lot of plans that had no real substance.
Okay, we don't need to hear
precision
JD
behind them.
Vance. Donald Trump is in that spin room for one reason and one reason only. He knows he lost.
Can I get extra credit? I need to pass this class.
I'm going to come out and say stuff so that we can actually move past. I mean, it's a smart play. He wants to do stuff right now to get people off of thinking about the debate.
He knows.
Turn the page.
Yeah.
I know it. We need to turn the page.
About the dogs again.
The short bald guy trailing Trump, I believe, is Walt Nauta, who is one of the people who was an accomplice with him in his classified documents case.
Oh my God.
He's still in the crew.
Yeah, you stay close to me.
Walt, get over here.
You stay close to me. We'll be on tomorrow, folks. You can subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Also, go over and subscribe to youtube.com/Majority Report Live, because that is our backup channel. And if you're subscribed to that, you will get notices when we go live.
Also, we just wanted to say a quick shout out to Free Range Wine and Spirits here in Brooklyn. They did a great job furnishing us with some great Wine.
They're
and
on
spirits.
Atlantic. Folks, check them out.
Atlantic
They're
app.
my favorite
great store.
liquor store.
Great people there.
Well, so who won the debate? We know.
Everybody knows.
Taylor
Harris.
Swift.
We need you to be Kamala of the country.
And she was.
She was.
Who lost? ABC.
Yes.
ABC lost.
Bias moderator.
ABC lost by having, all of those, by making us, do it on our burner. Kowalski from Nebraska wants me to do the Dutch angle for the entire show tomorrow.
Oh, you should.
We'll cut to it at the opportune moments.
How about I just do it this way? I'll talk to everybody this way. Bradley, Matt, Emma, great job all day today. Folks, we will see you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I guess somewhere the choice was made for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I guess somehow I lost my drive